Next, junior Sadie Lansdale. She's majoring in English, and with a minor in women's studies, she will be taking us to task on another of the fundamentals in our lives, sex. It rhymes with text, which is nice. But she's going to be asking us to rethink sexuality and to think about how our understanding of it has been limited, but most importantly, how, and listen up because this concerns you, how our experience of sex can be limited if we don't start to think about it differently. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome Sadie Lansdale. Lay it on us, Sadie. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Good evening, my friends. I'm going to ask you a question. I don't need you to answer right now, but I do need you to think about it. Is oral sex sex? I think a lot of you are probably thinking, no. I've always learned that sex means penis inside vagina. Well, first of all, this leaves out a lot of human sexual experience. Are men who sleep with men and women who sleep with women just never having real sex? Of course not. That's ridiculous. I'm glad you all agree. The problem is we're focused on sex as a way to produce a child, but I'm willing to bet that several people in this room have had sexual experiences without attempting to get pregnant. So, why do you do it? Pleasure, right? Yes. We need conversation that reflects the kind of sex we're actually having. Gentlemen, your pleasure is very important to me, but I only have a few minutes and your orgasm is pretty straightforward. Ladies. That's true. Ladies, in a world that is extremely uncomfortable with female pleasure, we have to work a little harder to get what we want. According to the Bible, what brought about the fall of humankind, eternal pain, suffering, and labor? Gratification of female desire, Eve's desire for flesh. Even more frightening, possibly. The ancient Greeks believed that a woman's form of orgasm was childbirth. So, with that in mind, I present to you the most helpful statistic I have ever learned in my life. No offense to my math professors or science professors, but 80% of women do not orgasm from vaginal sex. Why? It's not biologically necessary to produce a child, but we've already established that that's not why we're doing it. So, I argue that we should not let our baby-making biology stand in the way of pleasure. With that in mind, some charts. So, I'll stand over here. Here we have male and female sexual response. This is male response, and this is female response. It goes through the three phases. Possibly you can read them, but maybe not. Excitement, plateau, and orgasm. So that's what these are. Well, this looks lovely, you may think. Everything's reasonably lined up. The graphs are reasonably shaped the same way. And then we correct for time. So we have, right? So we have a slight problem, which is that if the sex act ends here, we're missing a very significant part of sexual experience, are we not? This part, although my charts are not that great, this part takes about 5 to 7 minutes. This part can take 10, 20, 30 minutes, depends woman to woman, and that is of direct clitoral contact. So, vaginal sex is great, that's not where the clitoris is. I'm sorry. Very pleasurable for many people, but if that doesn't do it for you, it's not because you're doing it wrong. It's because we're stuck in this gender-biased and heteronormative framework that maintains that real sex, whatever that is penis inside vagina. And this brings me to one of my least favorite words, foreplay. Here's a clip. Thank you. From a charming movie called The Holiday, in which the main character discusses her insecurities regarding sex.
Sex is pretty basic, right? I mean, I'm not pretty much talking about this.
Strangely not at all. How do you feel about foreplay?
I think it's overrated. Significantly overrated.
You are quickly becoming one of the most interesting girls I've ever met.
Right. Thank you, Cameron Diaz, and that dude. So, what is foreplay? Is it manual stimulation? Is it oral sex? For a lot of us, that is not foreplay. That is the main event. That is what's most likely to give a woman an orgasm, and putting the word "for" in front of it places it in a subordinate position to vaginal sex. For example, let's consider. Oh, not yet. Our social media, here we go. Our social media is perpetuating an inappropriate, outdated, and incorrect view of female pleasure, and we're all buying into it. And I'm so focused on this because I think we're pretty comfortable with male pleasure and male masturbation, as evidenced by the paragon of musical achievement, Stacy's mom. I definitely did not notice that the first time I saw the video, but. So, let's take a minute, and I would like everyone to imagine reversing the gender roles in this video. There is a young girl in the bathroom has a window, and she's looking out the window, and an oily, dripping, muscular, Speedo-clad stripper father emerges from the pool, and she's watching him, and she's masturbating, and her young boyfriend walks in on her, and everyone's horrified. And you're all laughing because it's funny, and it's a little weird, and it makes us uncomfortable. Well, guys talk about masturbation all the time. Shout out to all my male friends. I support you. I support you. I think that's a great thing to talk about. And it's not just in our mainstream media either. It's on our campus. Several of you may have seen posters that looked a little bit like this. This was an advertisement around campus for a symposium in Eaton. It's called Beaten Meat in Eaton, if I remember correctly. So we're going to play that game again. Let's reverse the gender politics of this poster. How do we do that? Maybe we would have a similarly scantily clad man holding maybe a papaya or some other kind of vaguely vaginally shaped fruit. Perhaps he would be stroking it, and the caption would read, what? Flick the bean in Eaton, or someone suggested stuff the burrito. These euphemisms are ridiculous, and you're all laughing because it's funny, but also because we don't have this language. We don't talk about it enough. So, one of my favorite feminists, a lovely, sassy Italian woman named Oriana Fallaci, wrote, "Sin was not born the day that Eve picked the apple. On that day was born a splendid virtue called disobedience." This has been my GChat status for a while. Everything in our culture, our social media, thank you movies and Stacy's mom, our culture, our foundational texts, even our sex ed programs are selling unhelpful, exclusionary, and harmful versions of sex and sexuality that don't do justice to the real experience. What do? We disobey. We break the silence. This means, for one, comprehensive sexual health education programs that include these 5 things: contraception, STI prevention, queer sex and identity, pleasure, and masturbation. But curricula and policy changes take time. So every one of you is going to help me change the conversation surrounding sex. Gentlemen, if you have female partners, please ask what they like. I promise that will make everything so much better for you. It will open up worlds. Even if you don't have female partners, ask your male partners what they like. That's not what I'm talking about, but that's very important. Ladies, communicate with your partners, no matter their gender. I keep hitting this, I think. Masturbate. Talk about it with your friends. If you don't know what you like, how in the world do you expect to communicate that to somebody else? You saw the charts. It's complicated. Also, if you don't have a healthy sexual relationship with yourself, you will have a very difficult time building one with somebody else. You guys are a lovely audience. I'm going to ask you another question. You've heard it before, and I need an answer, and I need it loud. Is oral sex sex? Yes. Thank you.